Hey you guys, good morning. Today's morning devotion is from John chapter 6, verses 1 through 15, and this was really encouraging for me this morning. This is when Jesus feeds the 5,000 people with loaves of bread and some fish. And there's really like two main thoughts that God and I kind of went down this morning. And the first one is that we can never, ever get to a point that is beyond God's ability to care for whatever situation we find ourselves in, whatever we're doing at that time. The crowd that was following Jesus, those 5,000 people, good morning, Sita, those 5,000 people, and that's just the men. Like, that crowd was not too big for Jesus. It was not too big for God to be able to make sure that they were provided for. Just like Jesus could heal them all if they were to all need healing, he can feed them all because they did all need to eat. Sometimes I think we're afraid of success, or we're afraid to really go after those big things because we're like, man, if this gets too big, I'm not going to be able to handle it. If this really goes like I want it to go, then it's going to get out of control, and then my success is going to quickly turn into a failure. But we have to remember that, one, we're not in this alone. We should not be doing this alone. And if we're really journeying with God, then that thing that he's calling us to do, that thing that we find ourselves in, is never going to get beyond the point of God to be able to care for it. It's not about us. It's about him and what he is able to do. Nothing is ever too big or too successful for God. That's why our focus has to remain on him. When our focus switches to ourselves, some things can be too big for us. But that's why God, he didn't tell us to do it by ourselves. He said, do it with him, walk with him, abide in him. Even Jesus in this moment, he takes the fish and he takes the bread and he blesses it, and he thanks God for it. He thanks God for the provision. See, sometimes we might think that, oh my gosh, this boy is so amazing. He had the fish and he had the bread that allowed all of us to eat. But no, it was God who divinely orchestrated for that boy to be a part of the crowd, for his mom or whoever to send him with some fish and some bread. We have to look beyond humans. We have to look beyond ourselves and look and see how God is working. And God is always working to make sure that what he is calling us to will be able to be sustained. Jesus knew the importance of keeping God in the midst, and he knew the importance of making sure those around him watched him keep God in the midst. He knew to stay focused and to stay thankful on the true, or for the true source, which is God. This boy's presence and possession of the bread was not a him thing. That was a God thing. You guys, this big thing, Jesus had a whole crowd of people following him. That did not intimidate him. He was not worried about how he was going to care for them. He was not anxious. He was not fearful, because he wasn't focused on the crowd. He was focused on his God. Y'all, we gotta not focus on how big the thing is, but remember how big our God is. We don't have to fear greatness, because we serve a God who is greater than our greatest imagination, than our greatest and wildest dream, than the biggest thing that God has ever implanted in our hearts. Like, God is always going to be bigger. And then the second train of thought is that Andrew, he spoke up. I love that Andrew said something about this boy that he found with this fish and these loaves, because sometimes people may gloss over the fact, right? They may gloss over the little, because clearly to our human eye, that's not enough to feed everybody. So what is the point of me saying anything about it? What is the point of me speaking up? There is a point in us speaking up. There is a point in us paying attention to that little we have. Andrew's like, listen, I don't know how far this is going to go, but this boy, he got some fish and some bread. I don't know if that helps. And the important thing that we can be encouraged with is, like, We don't have to have enough to take us all the way. We don't have to have what it takes to go the distance. All we need to have is at least a little something that can be multiplied in the hands of God. This means that what we do have, we need to make sure it gets into the hands of God, because that's where the multiplication happens. It doesn't happen in our hands. If we keep it, if we hold it for ourselves, if we never submit and surrender it to God, then yeah, of course, our little is going to stay little. It's when we release it to the Lord to allow him to use it how he sees fit that we will see this multiplication happen in our lives, where we're able to go the distance, where we're able to do what we just thought was unthinkable, right? This could be like a little discipline, y'all, a little patience, a little faith, just a little idea, a little dream, a little plan, a little imagination, a little persistence. When we submit all of those things to the Lord, let's just watch him multiply. Let's look forward to the great things that he is going to do from our little. So whatever our little is, whatever your little is, just get it into the hands of God and watch him do something great with it. He is the great Lord God Almighty. He is the only one who can go the distance with even the littlest thing that we give to him. So I hope you guys are encouraged today. Don't be afraid of your big dreams. Don't be afraid of the big purpose, that the big plans that God has for your life, because he knew that he could handle it if you would just stay focused on him, if you would just allow him to allow the multiplication to happen in your life in a way that wows you and amazes you. You guys have a great and wonderful day today.